What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Twin Wrestle Pod. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Today, man, we're gonna talk about, because it wouldn't be right not to talk about it, right? Last Thursday, we got the news of the passing of the immortal Hulk Hogan at the age of 71, and I was gonna do like a video the day of, or maybe the weekend. But I wanted to just sit here and just see the reaction, right? There's a lot of discourse about Hulk Hogan. Complicated. That's the word that's been thrown around a lot over these past 4 days. It's complicated. He was a complicated man, complicated individual, to say the least. I'm not going to tell people how to feel about Hulk Hogan, right? You feel how you feel about Hulk Hogan. The man was flawed. We know that. Everybody knows that. But on my platform, I'm not going to shit on the man or anything like that at all. I don't do that type of thing. Same thing I did with Goldberg in his retirement. I gave grace to his situation, even though Goldberg, complained, whined, and moaned. And then even after his retirement match, he whined, moaned, and complained again. But I gave grace when talking about his retirement when everybody was shitting on it. I'm gonna give grace when making this video about Hulk Hogan. I'm just doing freestyle off the dome. I don't have no notes written down. I was going to write some notes down, but I'm not going to. Hulk Hogan. Without Hulk Hogan, there is no professional wrestling as we know it today. None. He's a Mount Rushmore guy. He did so much for the landscape of pro wrestling in general, the business in general. Yeah, I mean, Hogan was selfish at points, but what big person weren't? The guy who was in the top spot who weren't selfish at the time, right? It's a lot of those guys that were selfish. So that didn't surprise nobody. But Hogan is one of those guys who's a Mount Rushmore guy. You can't mention pro wrestling without mentioning Hulk Hogan. He wasn't the flashiest. Didn't need to be. He only had 4 or 5 moves. He didn't need more than that. The persona of Hulk Hogan himself was bigger than everything, right? And there's no Austin, no Rock, no Flair. If you want to throw Flair up in that Mount Rushmore, Hogan would be in the Mount Rushmore. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Because without him, ain't no pro wrestling. We gonna go down through some of his accomplishments. From my perspective, I wasn't there in the early to late 80s. No, I wasn't there for that, for his boom period when he was on top. I caught Hulk Hogan towards the beginning of the middle stage where he was on a decline from the WWE, right around the time he was about to the fans were starting to booing pretty much in WWF at the time. That's around the time I caught Hogan, when the new generation era started, when you had Bret Hart, the Hart Foundation, them coming up there, Mr. Perfect, people they wanted to see in different spots rather than Hulk Hogan at the time, and the World Wrestling Federation, it was known as at the time. So I called Hogan around that era on to WCW. His resurgence back in WWF in 2002. On to his departure maybe in 2007 at the latest. So I'm gonna just go through and talk about some of the stuff that I know off the top of my head about Hulk Hogan. Started for this WrestleMania, WrestleMania 8, I believe, with him and Warrior, one of the greatest champion versus champion matchups ever in the history of the business. Let's put Warrior in here. And it's eerie that both him and Warrior are now gone, bro. It's crazy when you think about this shit. Just think about this shit, man. All the larger-than-life personas from back in the day are pretty much gone, bro. Hogan being the last of his generation. Hogan now gone, Warrior gone, Macho Man gone. Like, that's just wild upon itself. And all of them passed away by heart attacks, no less, man. Crazy work. But WrestleMania 8, man. Greatest champion versus champion matchup of all time. One of the greatest. Yeah, Warrior on fire, Hogan on fire. They had maybe what? 12, 13, maybe 15 to 20 in that range, maybe. Minute match. They didn't need to do too much. Just those two in the ring, sharing the ring together at that time. And they coined that Gorilla Monsoon term. It was pandemonium, right? Pandemonium in that arena. Warrior ended up beating Hogan and becoming a double champ. The late kick out by Hogan at the end of the match. I advise people to watch this match. It's one of the best matches ever in WrestleMania history, bro. Watch this match, and Hogan wouldn't finish there. Hogan had a lot of WrestleMania main events. He should have had more than what he had, right? But Hogan won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 9 in that year over Yokozuna. And that was pretty much like his last time holding the WWE Championship. From right here. Last time. 1993. Beating Yokozuna. We all know the infamous spot. It was originally Bret versus Yoko. Then turned into Hogan versus Yoko. And Hogan beating. Hogan was on that card, I think, and I think he's in the tag team match, if I remember. Was it him and Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus somebody else? I can't remember who the tag team they fought, but he was in the tag team matchup earlier tonight. And he came out at the end of the night and won the WWF Championship, which is crazy. Then he went on, I think, after that to face Undertaker right around the time Undertaker debuted. I think Undertaker debut may be 1999, but I think Hogan was Undertaker's like first, not 99, 92 was Hogan's first. Taker was Hogan's first, not Hogan, but Hogan was Taker's first World Championship matchup, if I remember. Let's see. He lost to the Taker. I want to say Survivor Series. Yeah, lost to the Taker at Survivor Series. Oh, I don't want to play that. It'll get copyrighted. It just don't fucking play regardless. He lost to Undertaker that night. 1991. Damn, that's old. That's old as fuck. 91. But then we get from him winning the WWE Championship in WrestleMania 9. He leaves the company. I think he dropped the belt back to Yokozuna, I think a couple weeks after winning it at WrestleMania 9, I remember. And he was gone for a minute. He came back in 1994 with the rival promotion in WCW. Hogan really didn't do too much in WCW at the beginning stages. He was still rocking a red and yellow back in the day. Still rocking the red and yellow get up. World Heavyweight Champion. They were just trying to recreate Hulkamania pretty much in WCW at the time. So you saw him in the ring with Flair. You saw him in the ring with Vader. You know, Steve Mongo McMichael. Brutus the Barber. Shit like that. Like, they tried to recreate a lot of the same shit that he did in WWE at the time in WCW. It worked for a period of time, but not that much. You still hear like the boos and shit. It was a mixed reaction for Hogan at that time. And we get to 1995, which is where the whole Dungeon of Doom angle started with the fucking Bitch Show, who I think I knew. What's my guy? Kamala was in there. I want to see. I think Brutus the Barber BK was in there. He was in there too. I think he was called the Zodiac, if I remember. Like, yeah, like look. This Hogan going up against Dungeon of Doom right here, bro. The dark side Hogan, man, 1995. But that was that whole era, man. Teaming up with Sting and Macho in War Games to go up against the Dungeon of Doom. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get to WCW and he wasn't doing much of nothing for real. He was a top guy, but he wasn't doing nothing of much. Look, Sullivan, Kamala, Brutus, Earthquake. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the Dungeon of Doom, people. If you don't know who the Dungeon of Doom is, these are guys Hogan was feuding with. Then they brought in the Giant, and you got him and the Giant at Halloween Havoc. Hogan wasn't doing anything. It wasn't until 1996 where we got the infamous third man angle of the greatest faction to ever be formed in pro wrestling. And that faction is none other than the NWO. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Hulk Hogan, who became the third man, turned heel that day and gave Macho Man the leg drop, as you can see from this photo as well. And what came out and was spawned out of this is the greatest, the most influential faction that ever was in pro wrestling. That pretty much still dominating to this day. Let's be honest. You had guys in New Japan doing it too sweet. It's still influential to this day, bro. And the eerie thing about this photo is only one of these guys are left, and it's Kevin Nash. Crazy, man. It's crazy how this shit worked. How this shit turns out. So crazy. NWO, which is Hogan's resurgence as a heel. Like, he had another boom, if you will. Like he had back in the 80s, he had one here in the mid-90s with the NWO. Stayed on top for a very long time in WCW. Who could ever forget the infamous feud with Sting? Him versus Sting. Sting having him in the sharpshooter, right? Hogan versus Sting for the World Championship. This is one of the best renditions of Sting there ever was. Hogan had matches with the likes of Sting, Goldberg, at the Georgia Dome where Goldberg beat him, bro. And it's crazy we talking about Goldberg because not just pretty much 2 weeks ago Goldberg was retiring, and we got him versus Hogan at the Georgia Dome, bro, for the World Heavyweight Championship. Look at this crowd. The picture don't do it justice, but that's how the picture was back in the day. Georgia, that crowd is rocking in 1998. So Hogan had another boom period in WCW, but he stayed in WCW until we get to Bash at the Beach in 2000, which was a whole. They made a Dark Side of the Ring. If you don't know what Dark Side of the Ring is, it's on YouTube. You can buy it, purchase it. It's through Vice, and they do these episodic kind of like those like murder mysteries that people be watching. It's kind of like that, like the Dark Side of the Ring, and they reenact stuff. And they have an episode of the Bash at the Beach of 2000 where you get the infamous match with Hogan and Jeff Jarrett for the championship, where Jarrett just laid down and let Hogan pin him, and Hogan cut a promo after the matchup and he left, and that was his last time in WCW. So Hogan was in WCW from 94 to 2000, so he's in there for a long time. It's a lot that goes into the Bash at the Beach situation. I highly recommend people watch the episode about it on Dark Side of the Ring. But Hogan stayed in WCW all the way up to 2000. And I know a lot of people don't like his his WWE run after that. But man, you just couldn't help but you can't deny it. Deny his next run, his return to WWE in 2002, bro. Like, they had the greatest match. Might be the greatest match. He had the greatest match with The Rock at WrestleMania 18, bro. Like, icon versus icon. I might have the case in here somewhere. Let me see. I might have the case in here. Let me see. Because y'all gotta understand how big that matchup was at the time. Yeah, right here, look. How big this matchup was at that point. Icon versus icon. Hogan versus Rock. This is the quintessential 5-star match. If you into that type of deal, 5-star matches, I'm not really into that type of shit. I know a lot of people are. This is a 5-star match. Rock and Hogan. And should have been the main event. This should have been another main event for Hogan. No one, Jericho and Triple H, they couldn't hold a candle to this match. And they both knew it when they walked through that curtain. When Hogan and Rock came back through that curtain. They knew it. Like, for Hogan to come back in that Toronto crowd, man, one of the greatest matches ever, man. Ever. And WWE tried to rock with it. Literally, no pun intended, but they tried to go with that flow. After that, Hogan immediately get a championship match against Triple H at Backlash 2002, bro. He redonned in yellow, the red and yellow. It's right here. This kind of like this match to me is always, I don't say swept under the rug, but it's like one of those matches where a lot of people don't talk about it as much. Like Hogan beat Triple H that night, become undisputed champion. Like this little run he had. This was a little fun run. If you go back and watch most of the programs Hogan had back in the day around this time, but that was a little fun run, man. Real shit, because around that time he teamed up with Edge to become tag team champions. You heard Edge talk about it a lot. Like, I used to have the tapes. They might have been in the closet somewhere, but I used to have the tapes of them backstage segments and them beating. I think it might have been the Un-Americans for the championships, if I remember. But bro, this is such a slept on feud or match. It wasn't a great match per se, but none of Hogan matches were that good from a wrestling standpoint. It's more the moments he made in those matches. And when Hogan came back to win his Undisputed Championship, it was pretty fun. He went on to face Undertaker. He fought Taker. He fought Brock Lesnar. He fought Austin. He didn't get the chance to face Austin. Austin left probably a pay-per-view or two after this, around the King of the Ring time. So around June, Austin left. But this little run he had was very, very fun. If you can find this, you can find it on Peacock if you have a subscription. But I highly recommend people watching Hogan's little run around this time. WWE saw the reaction he got at WrestleMania and said, let's put the championship back on Hogan. Wasn't the same reaction, but it was really good. And his feud with Taker, they weren't good matches, but they were fun. Like, if you, me and my brothers joke all the time about let's take a ride, Hogan. That's Undertaker actually chaining Hulk Hogan up to his motorcycle and riding him backstage, bro, knocking him into shit. The feud he had with Taker was probably the most fun feud that Hogan had around this time. Like, this was the funnest feud that Hogan had. Judgment Day 2002. Then we get to WrestleMania 19 with him versus billionaire Vince McMahon. Two polarizing figures, two controversial figures in today's landscape. Well, pretty much their whole careers, they've been controversial. On screen and off screen, 20 years in the making street fight. Which I have that back there somewhere too, but this match was off the rails, man. They were doing everything. Both guys were bleeding in this matchup. Vince McMahon giving I think he gave Hogan a leg drop off a ladder onto the announce table, if I remember. I ain't watched this match in years, man. But this was fucking crazy. And that fucking creepy shot of Vince coming up from the apron. Blood, face just fucking drenched with blood everywhere. Like a crimson mask, like JR used to say back in the day. That fucking shot was crazy. And Hogan pretty much stayed with WWE up until, I want to say, 07, right? And we get to, I'm going to skip to one of the funnest feuds I've ever witnessed. Like, I didn't have cable at the time. So I used to go to my neighbor's house a lot around this time. I didn't really watch WWE that much in 05. But this is one of the most funnest feuds ever. The funniest. I mean, fun, like comedic fun. With Hogan and Shawn Michaels, just partly because Hogan was being, he's very political at this time. Like, he didn't want to do the job, if I remember. So Michaels just went out of his way to be so over the top in their match. Like everything. Michaels later on, at a convention, said he wished he didn't do this. He wished he would have stuck professional and just did business the right way. But this shit was comedy gold, bro. Michaels and Hogan was comedy gold, bro. Go back and watch this match, bro. Michaels was doing all kind of shit to Hogan around that time. That shit was fun. And the super kick heard around the world. Where is it, if I can find it? Right here. Super kick heard around the world. This was on the magazines, I believe, at the time. WWE used to have the magazines. I don't want to say they drop them every week. They probably drop them like every other week. But this is on the front of a magazine. I think it was this picture right here too. But this is one of his most funnest feuds from a comedic aspect in his latter parts in pro wrestling. Once he left WWE, he went to TNA. Hogan's TNA run wasn't that great, really, because he didn't need to be in a ring. You had him up against Sting. This is his last match, actually, right here against Sting. Hogan did not need to be in the ring, and him and Bischoff got there and they just ran. They took what TNA was and turned it into something different and destroyed it from within. And TNA never recovered ever since these two have left that company and went to TNA and didn't do that much good for it, man. Because everything just revolved around the old guard, him, Bischoff, Flair, whoever you name from back in the day. That's who it revolved around. Like you can see him with Pac and Nash. Like TNA got away from what got them there, which was Styles, Joe, Christopher Daniels, like the door, like the young cats who were there, the guys who put that company on their back. They got away from that in favor of Hogan now. And his last matchup against Sting there, at that point in time, I think he had like 8 back surgeries or something like that from all them damn leg drops he was taking. He was delivering to people and it was jacking up his back. But I just want to bring this video here. This is off the top of the dome. Just remembering Hulk Hogan for what he did for the business of professional wrestling. People got their right to feel how they feel about the man, but I choose to give everything grace and just talk about some of the fun things in pro wrestling. In terms of pro wrestling that he did, we know the political guy he was backstage and saving his spot and telling this and telling that, when the unionized stuff with Jesse Ventura. Oh, we know everything about Hogan, man, right? More of the story is there wouldn't be no pro wrestling without Hulk Hogan. And rest in peace, man. But that's gonna do it for the video for Hulk Hogan. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna just upload it. I ain't adding nothing. Everything gonna be in just how it is, how I delivered it to you. And I'll see you guys in the next video for maybe it might be SummerSlam predictions coming up. I won't do no pre-review to Monday Night Raw tonight. So you guys take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, bro.